Oh, nice.
Yeah, no.
It's just now started working.
Have a nice walk.
Did your daughter have a good story when she got to school?
Oh, yeah. She said, well, I guess that would be okay.
Yeah. It was cool seeing you carry it though. Yeah. Had it on for 17 days.
All go down to the orientation building.
Hi, Rosalie Gilchrist with ARC TV in Fort Boonesboro in Kentucky. We're waiting on Curtis Penix. This is the final end of his journey, and can't wait to interview Curtis and see what all he had to do to make his walk on the Boone Trace Trail.
Yeah, we did. No Indian until sunrise. You're a real Kentuckian now.
Am I?
There you go.
Yeah, he was.
I introduced him to it.
This one doesn't say what did you say? Sponsored
It
basketball?
was a home of basketball and
Where is it?
she's right down front.
Thanks for coming out today on this cool day. My name is Rob Meinrich. I'm the park manager here, and I'm just thrilled to have you at our park today, and especially Curtis and Gibbon. What a journey. Gibbon Fox is a flight medic for the National Guard. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He's the son of Dr. John Fox. And he joined the hike 5 days into it at Martin Station. Curtis Penix is from Monroe, Michigan. He's a heavy equipment operator and a hardcore hiker, obviously. I read some notes, and it said that he hikes 20-mile treks in the snow, so I'm sure this was a huge challenge for him. And what a spiritual journey for him to follow the footsteps of his 5th-generation grandfather. I mean, that was really neat, I think. So let's give these 2 guys a big round of applause. Introduce Dr. John Fox. He's the president of the Friends of Boone Trace, and I think he had a lot to do with the inspiration of this hike and helping them find their path. John, where are you? Come on up here, John.
Start talking?
Yeah.
I had a speech. I've been practicing for 2 weeks. And I got hooked off the stage down in London to talk to. So I was going to do that speech, but I woke up this morning and said that's not what it's all about. That speech that I'm giving. So I put this off. I've read it one time, and this is what I want to say. And I'll read it, and then I'll be out of here. Okay? I'm John Fox, the grandfather, or the father, Given Fox's father. He drove in all the way from Colorado for this expedition. President of the organization, Friends of Boone Trace. Boone Trace is that little road. These fellows have been hiking for the last 16 days. These fine fellows. This experience for me has turned into an incredible emotional and spiritual experience. I'm not really a particularly religious, super religious person, but I think I'm spiritual. And on this trail, there's a spirituality that you can find, feel, that I hope all of you will experience as well. Get into this. When you find a spot on the trail that you're pretty sure you're on, you know, this feeling comes over you that to me is sort of like wanting to laugh and cry at the same time. And if you stop for a moment, you can actually hear the voices calling you. It's particularly powerful in the woods where we found actual dirt segments of the trace. But you can find it if you just drive down 388. When you come to an area that usually if there's a hillside on one side and a creek on the other, the road in the middle, you know he was there. And if you just stop there for a moment, you get this connection. And you can really feel it. In my wanderings and putting these pieces together, I thought many times the way to preserve the Boone Trace was to make a hiking trail out of it that many people would want to follow. But it's long and arduous, and I'm too old and feeble to do it myself. My son, Given, traveled with me and offered to do it someday, and then he was sent off to Afghanistan to fly as a medic on a Black Hawk. So that kind of fell to the wayside. And who would be crazy enough and capable? You have to be a rather extraordinary person. And out of the blue, almost as if by destiny, I got a telephone from this guy in Michigan named Penix, who wanted to walk in the steps of his fifth grade grandfather, Joshua Penix, along the Boone Trace, and he needed to know how to do it. He needed details of really how to get down and do it. So we talked, we met. Lo and behold, he's smart, he's intelligent, not so bad looking. He presents well, he's spiritual, he's a former youth pastor. He's motivated, and possibly most of all, he's a hardcore hiker with the experience and the toughness to pull this off. He does 20-mile hikes in Michigan in the winter. So, perfect. That's it. He wants to do it. He initially wants to do it on his own, but my son Given finished his tour in Afghanistan and offered to come along as the final piece to complete the puzzle. Sort of medical support. He's also smart, intelligent, not too bad looking. He's also spiritual, a former pastor, and he's tough. He hikes 14,000-foot mountains in Colorado. Curtis could have done it on his own, but as we found out, the expedition was tough at times with bad weather, heavy loads, long segments, hard to make time schedules, and so forth. And turns out they were quite compatible. And together as a team, he is the support person. I'm the Boone Trace Sherpa. All set out, and darned if it didn't pull it off. We're like the three Mexican amigos, Jose, Coach Lee, Coach C. Glad y'all are laughing. It is laughing. Chamber meeting. And we did it. Kind of the three Boone Trace amigos. This is the first time in modern years that Boone Trace has been hiked in this manner. Others have hiked it, not like these guys did. They used the oldest, most primitive roads, and the actual dirt paths, wherever that was possible, to carry their own food, slept out in the open, and they suffered the hardships doing that. At times it was really tough, challenging. You got soaking wet, cold, hungry, tired from the heavy loads and long distances, but they didn't give up. And that tells you that the pioneer spirit still exists. I don't know how you jump over it. The pioneer spirit still exists in these two guys. They're the trailblazers for all those that follow, and hopefully there'll be many of those. Like Danny Boone, he knew where he wanted to go. Nobody had ever done it. And he did it. They knew where they wanted to go. Nobody had ever done it. And they did it. They accomplished basically two things. Curtis has walked in the steps of his grandfather. Noble people, very proud. But the other thing is they brought attention to the historical significance of Boone Trace, the first road ever in what was to become a state. And it's such great historical significance to the founding of our state, the Old West. Thank you, boys. God bless you. This is not the end of anything. This is the beginning.
Thanks so much, John. The next gentleman I want to introduce, I want to talk about a little bit. He's the president of our Fort Boonesboro Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that supports our park here at Fort Boonesboro. And he and his wife Elizabeth and the board members, the members of the foundation work very hard to support our park, and we couldn't do it without them. Since its establishment, they've given back over $100,000 to our park to help us. And as a state agency, that's very important, because when I have needs and I don't have it in my budget or it gets taken out of my budget, I can call this foundation and say, hey, I need this, I need that, and they're always there to help. I've never been around in my professional career a group of people in this foundation that are more passionate, get along, and get things done. It's unbelievable. They check the egos at the door, and we all rally together as a team and do things. But I'd like to introduce the president of the Fort Boonesboro Foundation, George Chalfant. He's going to make a presentation.
Hello, everyone. Appreciate you all being here. This is a tremendous thing that these two fellows accomplished, and we would like to make a presentation to them, life membership in our foundation. And Curtis, come on up here. There we go. Appreciate it, fellas. That one in town here to come to visit, just flash that card in there, and they got the keys to the fort, okay? We became a 501c3 in 06, I believe. We started 2004, and it's been a tremendous experience for all of us. My wife Elizabeth pretty well does the presidential duties as well. Treasurer, Barbara's our secretary, and Christy and Tom are they do everything here. Christmas programming and Women on Frontier that's coming up, which we all invite you to come out and participate with us. And these two fellows really put the focus on the trace. And I know Dr. John, he lived every moment y'all walked this trace. And I'm encouraged about going back and revisiting parts of the trace myself, and I'm sure everyone else is too. So give you a hand.
Thank you. Thanks, George. Again, I can't emphasize how much this group does for our park. They're a wonderful group of people. It's been my pleasure to get to work with them. Another group that supports our park tremendously with marketing, advertising, events, is Madison County Tourism, as well as Winchester Tourism. They both were kind of nestled in between them, and both Nancy and Lori do a wonderful job of helping us get visitors to our park. Commissioner Donna Baird's here today with Lori. We want to recognize her, and they also have a little presentation for Curtis and Gibbon.
We just wanted to welcome you to Madison County and Richmond. We have a little token of our appreciation for you guys. And thank you so very much for what you did. We always say that Richmond would not be who we are without things to do. So thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce now the president of the Society of Boonesboro, Mr. Dean Whitaker.
First, for the officers and the board and the members of the Society of Boonesboro, we'd like to present you with your membership of the Society of Boonesboro. And we'd also like to recognize your fifth great-grandfather, Joshua Penix, who we know was at Boonesboro in 1779. He signed 2 petitions. The first one was from the distressed citizens of Boonesboro. The second one was from the distressed citizens of the county of Kentucky. The petitions went to the state legislature in Leavesburg, Virginia, and supposedly they were for relief of the hard times on the frontier. And I'm not sure if the legislature acted on them, but they needed help. So, Curtis, here. Who is your given? The Society of Boonesboro would also like to present you with a Friends of Boonesboro certificate. And I would also like to say thank you to Dr. Fox, because John has been with you all the way. I know he contacted a lot of private individuals who own land and let you get on land that you would have never been able to travel on. And he coordinated the contacts throughout your whole journey through Kentucky. So Dr. Fox, thank you for helping with this journey also. And I would like to say thank you to Rob and to Bill Farmer, the fort manager, for having this here at the fort. I'd like to thank the members and the officers of the Boonesboro Foundation, because they coordinate things here at the fort. And I would like to mention one other name. There's a fellow named Jim Curtis, who these 2 hikers picked up in Brea. I'm not going to say how old Jim is, but he's a little older than these 2 guys here. And he walked from Brea to Boonesboro, and he camped overnight 2 nights. So Jim, where are you, Jim? Jim, all right. I thank the hikers, and this has been a wonderful experience for all the organizations involved. And very nice thing to do.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Dean and I got to sit down and talk last night at a cookout, got to visit him, and I didn't realize he was a Parks and Recreation major out of college. And he said he never got to use that degree, but I think he is now, with his passion for history of Madison County. I'd like to introduce now Tom Black, who's with the Madison County Historical Society. Tom?
Thank you, Rob. I'm pleased to represent the Madison County Historical Society in recognizing our hikers today. And I'm going to give you the executive summary of the briefing that John led off with today. And I wrote my comments before I heard his, but we kind of say the same thing. And we'd like to render our most hearty congratulations to Gibbon and to Curtis for completing the length of Boone's Trace and doing it in less than favorable weather, wet ground conditions, and the hazards of traffic, which you encountered in many places. And as they came along, they encountered many of the same challenges that our ancestors did when they came, and the thousands of pioneers who followed them in the late 1700s to settle in this wonderful land that we live in today. Fortunately, a large percentage of those pioneers were able to survive, and now Curtis and Gibbon have persevered in their actions of the same nature. And as said before, Curtis, in his desire to follow the footsteps of his great-grandfather, was a real player in developing and carrying out the plan for this hike on the original Boone's Trace as closely as possible. And John, as president of the Friends of Boone's Trace, investigated and did a lot of the footwork to make the alignment of the hike and the trace as compatible as possible. And they've worked for several years in doing this. And they've devised the arrangements which have culminated in this remarkable trek of the 200-plus mile route of the Boone's Trace. And the Madison County Historical Society would like to recognize Curtis's contributions to the preservation and, in fact, the initial stages of the reconstitution of Boone's Trace with the presentation of a token of appreciation from us, which is an artist's rendering, and I emphasize it's a rendering of Boone topping Cumberland Gap and looking out into the promised land. And in doing that, Gibbon, we also want to recognize you and thank you for your contributions. And John, and lastly, Jim Kurtz, who has been mentioned, but Jim's been another one of the foundation people in this, doing a lot of the background and preparation. And so being along for the last 20 miles of the hike was a great feat for you.
I thank you for letting me hang along. I thank you for letting me hang around.
Oh, you're welcome. So, great job, and our congratulations to you.
Thank you, Tom. I had somebody give me some numbers the other day, and I had to sleep on them for a couple nights and then verify them, because I just found it hard to believe that 15% of the population in the United States, some 47 million people, have descendants that came through Fort Boonesboro. And to me, that just is overwhelming. And I had two different people tell me it, and I didn't believe it, to be honest with you. I just thought there's no way. I researched and found out it was true. Not that I didn't think they were teasing me or something, but that just amazes me that many people have descendants that came through Fort Boonesboro. We have a new event this June here at the fort, which is a gathering of descendants. And our fort manager, Bill Farmer, came up with this event over the winter. And we're going to have resources for folks to come on site and find out about their descendants that maybe came through Fort Boonesboro. So put that on your schedule, please. I want to introduce the president of the Boone Trace Society, Mr. Sam Compton.
Thank you, Bob. It's great to see such a turnout of the welcoming committee for a very deserving event. The Boone Society is, and I'm the president of the Boone Society, I think you said that, but the Boone Society is made up of membership of the Boone descendants, Daniel Boone family descendants. And when you talk about descendants that came through Fort Boonesboro, we have membership descendants in 39 states and 3 foreign countries. And we always have felt the family came from Kentucky. So Kentucky's a warm place in our heart. My wife, Carolyn, sitting over here. Raise your hand, Carolyn. Carolyn is a descendant of Hannah Boone, Daniel Boone's youngest sister. And that makes me a Boone-in-law. But anyway, 3 years ago, we started a project to bring back the pioneer history of Kentucky. And the reason that we wanted to do that was this segment of history is disappearing from us. A lot of the adults and certainly the children today don't understand and know how this great nation expanded and the pain and the suffering and the struggle that they went through in order to develop the westward movement. If you were interviewing the man on the street, you asked, what is Daniel Boone most noted for? You'd get frontiersman, long hunter, pioneer, Indian fighter.
Television.
Yeah, well, we struggled to try to get away from that one. Bess Parker did not do the true history any favor there. But no one would, other than a historian, would probably say the greatest achievement of Daniel Boone was he's the father of the westward movement. That's huge. That's something that's not only of interest to those of us in Kentucky, but the United States and particularly in Europe. And when you take England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, those people are just as interested in this segment of history as we are, because they want to know where their ancestors went, what happened to them, and the same story of struggle. So, you know, we need to let those people over there know about this subject too. So, we developed a project called Boone Trace Corridor, and this project's been going for 3 years. It's a huge project. We have 127 working partnerships. The key partnerships are the Kentucky Tourism, Kentucky Parks, the Kentucky Board of Education, and the Kentucky Historical Society. Those are just the key components, and it comes all the way down through the counties and etc. The Boone Trace Corridor is being developed to respond to that need to bring back America's frontier history. This is a tourism venue to draw people to this area for a living classroom, and through that experience it will be an education to learn firsthand about America's frontier history and the westward expansion. Now that's a big part of what we're talking about here. We are in the final stages this year. It looks like in 2016 we'll be able to finally roll it out and turn it on to the public. And so I hope everyone looks forward to us accomplishing that mission and hopefully bringing tourism and hopefully tourism revenue to an area that is deep in need of their share of tourism dollars in the state of Kentucky. And we've looked at the statistics, and the Boone country segment of this state as far as tourism is next to the last on the total as far as collecting their share of tourism dollars. And we're in hopes that we'll be able to increase that. At the same time, educate people about America's frontier history. Now, about June of last year, we had Curtis, we had the honor of having Curtis come to our National Boone reunion down at Pine Mountain Resort. We had over 110 Boone descendants there for that event, and everyone was very pleased to have Curtis there and very interested, and we've always been very supportive of Curtis's walk. And Curtis, today we congratulate both of you. What an accomplishment. And the promotion and publicity is exactly what this area needs, and you've done a great job, both of you done a great job of bringing this subject to the surface. And I want to present you for your inspiration. You'll come up. This is a certificate of appreciation This certificate is awarded to Curtis Penix for his contributions to promote America's frontier history through his 200-mile walk, retracing the footsteps of Daniel Boone and the first settlers in 1775. Curtis, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. I'd like to recognize someone. Bill Farmer, can you come down here? Bill Farmer is our fort manager, and he and his wife both work here. Ann runs the gift shop here at the fort, and Bill is responsible every year for managing this fort up here, and he's the go-to guy that gets the work done. And he's come up with no new programming for this season coming up. We lost our Daniel Boone, who moved home to help with his parents, and you know, last fall we were kind of scratching our heads thinking, okay, you know, what are we going to do for new programming? We had to eliminate some events, and Bill really went to work in the off season and came up with some new programming for us, and a true historian, a true passion for this place, and I'm fortunate enough to have him here to make my job easier, because I go to him to ask questions about history and what needs to be done and not be done. I just kind of sweep the floors and make the coffee and pay the bills, basically. Anyway, Bill, if you'll help me with this next presentation. When this got started, I got to thinking to myself, you know, what can we as a state park do for these two guys? And the highest honor in the state of Kentucky is that of Kentucky Colonel. So we jumped through some hoops and got that done for him. And I'd like to present Gibbon Fox with Kentucky Colonel. Kentucky State Park, congratulations for your height, and you're now a Kentucky Colonel. I can only imagine that the more I got involved in watching this on Facebook and following on your blog, you know, it became spiritual for me. And I'm not even related to your grandfather. It's very cool what you've done. And I think it's just wonderful. And I want to award you with the Kentucky Colonel from the Kentucky Department of Parks. Curtis, I've got you, the last person on the program here. I'd like you to just talk to everybody about how this all got started and your journey. And
well, I looked at my first email I ever sent, and it was to Sam Compton, because I seen something online that said that they had a map of Boone Trace, and I thought, I got the Rosetta Stone now, I know exactly where Boone Trace is. And Sam was so generous to send that right to me. And that was back in March of last year. So it's been 1 year that we've been working on this project. And so many people have helped out. And I really thought I would get this map and I would start walking this trail by myself, and maybe nobody would really pay attention, because when you look at all the trails in this country that we could walk, like the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, 200 miles isn't that much as far as long distance hiking. But you look at all these other trails, and none of them have the history that this trail has. And I didn't understand that when I first started looking into it. I just knew Grandpa Joshua walked it, so I'm going to try to walk it. And man, the history is just amazing. The number of people in our country that have been affected by this but don't even realize it is just amazing. And I started to catch that vision that people really need to learn about this. They really need to learn about how this trail was developed, how Daniel Boone cut it, and how so many hundreds of thousands of pioneers crossed it. Like we said, 47 million of us have descendants that came through Cumberland Gap into Kentucky. It's just amazing. Well, then I got a hold of, Sam actually got me a hold of Neil Hammond, who actually created the maps. He did a study back in the late 60s, early 70s. And I got to go to Neil's house and visit with him and sit with the map maker himself. And he gave me some pointers on some little things that he knew that weren't exactly on the map. And he said, now there's one guy you need to get a hold of, and it was John Fox. And that's all he said. He didn't tell me how. He just said, you got to talk to this guy, John Fox. So after I left, I kind of filed that in the back of my head. It was a month or two later, I was still looking on the internet for things, and here comes this website with the name of a guy named John Fox. And so I sent him off an email, and he emailed me right back, and we started conversing, and I found out that he has such a love for this trail. He's been studying it for about 6 years now and finding all these little sections out in the woods that people have kind of forgot about. He's taken Neil's research and just kept building on that. And him and Neil are good buddies together. But the accuracy that I was able to do with this trip, given that I were able to walk, would not have happened if it wasn't for John. He knows more about the trail than anybody, and he has just completely opened up all of that research to me. And I was so thrilled to hear that Given wanted to walk this trail for him. John knows he probably wouldn't make the whole 200 miles, but Given is given that. And I was thinking, you know, what can I give John? How can I give back to John what he's given me? Well, John, what I've given you is flying above this fort right now. It's a 13-star flag, the first one that was issued here in the United States, and when that comes down, that's yours to take home.
Yeah.
Now you know the reason I want to give you my pack, because I want to carry that flag the whole way. John offered many times to take our pack when it seemed like it was too heavy, but I was going to give it to him because I'm going to carry it. Thank you very much, John, for everything you've done, and thank you for everybody. And there's one other person that we haven't talked about, and the reason we haven't is because she did her job so well, nobody really knew she was doing it. And that's my wife. She was in Michigan, and she was the one that was giving all this information out on the internet. I have a Facebook page, and I have a website, and I have Twitter, none of which have I ever done anything with. She has done all this. I would send things in email, and she would correct the spelling and polish it up and put it out there for you guys to read. She was the communication that everybody had through all of this. I want to thank my wife for doing that. Thank you so much for all the attention you got for this. I'm not a spotlight grabber. I could have done this completely without anybody watching, and I would have been fine, but it would have been wrong for me to do that with the history that this trail has. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that everybody gets a hold of the information that we've put out there. Go travel this trail yourself. We need people to travel it, to learn about their family history, to learn about America's history. Thank you.
Okay, this is Curtis Penix on ARC TV. I just finished 230-some mile hike up Boone Trace, and around me I have Given, John Fox, and my family, my wife Kimberly, daughter Amber, son Austin, and we're just going to ask them what they thought about this little trip that I took. Let's start with Given. What do you think about the trip we just did?
I thought it was fairly adventurous. You were an Ironman to do 230 miles. I feel like a wimp at only 147. So,
Yours was the hard miles. I got easy miles.
so I think it was, now that it's over and done with, I'll say it was a romping good time. And I was quite proud and happy to hike alongside you.
I was.
So.
Me? My turn?
Make this a long one then.
Get hooked again. Hook me right off. Hook me right. Yeah, I can need my speech. Let me just say, for me, it was very spiritual. The whole thing, the trail is spiritual because you hear the voices of the past as you walk along it. Curtis is spiritual, Given spiritual, and I'm kind of spiritual. And for the future of everybody that wants to walk it, I hope they can experience kind of that same sense of spirituality.
Hi, I'm Austin, his son. It was nice to see him work on something so hard and actually see it happen and it not just get thrown to the side, because he put a lot of work into this, so glad it worked out.
And set the bar high for the next generation.
I'm Amber, his daughter, and I think he's crazy. I am super proud of him that he finished it, and before I cry, I'm going to give the mic to my mom.
Hi, I'm Kimberly. A little over a year ago, my husband asked me what I thought if he'd take a little walk that one of his 5-time great-grandpas did, and I told him, sure, not a problem, and he said, well, it might be 2 to 3 weeks, and I said, sure, because I never thought it would happen. So I was all in it from the beginning because I never thought it was going to happen, but it was just really cool to see it evolve into something that has touched so many and had such involvement on preserving such a piece of our nation's history. So very proud of both of these guys and the work that John did. Definitely their Sherpa on the trail for sure. But it's been very neat to see, very proud of them.
Thank you. Well, Given and I were the first in modern time to walk up the original Boone Trace, but we're not going to be the last. We want many people to get a hold of the information on the websites and travel up this. If you have to travel by car, if you can walk a little bit of it, whatever you need to do, come out here to Kentucky and travel up Boone Trace and learn about your own history in America and your own family history.
In Virginia, too.
And Virginia.
Anything else?
We're good.
I think we're good.
Thank you for following along. I'm going.
Well, Curtis, 200 miles later and 16 days later.
Yep.
Tell me, Ernie wants to know first off what you learned on this trip that you didn't know already.
Well, I already knew it was hard on this trail. I didn't realize how hard. Of course, I was my own pack horse. I carried my own equipment. And
How much did that weigh?
It started out at 47 pounds. I got rid of some heavy winter equipment early, so it ended up being about 40 pounds. But the pioneers, they forded the rivers. They got what they called scalded feet. I learned early on that I can't do that if I want to finish this trek, so I used the bridges like a good boy. And it was hard doing all the walking. Sometimes I do 20 miles a day, me and Given would, and your legs just want to give out.
Yes.
Now the pioneers had the Indians to deal with. They never knew when they were going to get attacked by Indians.
So they had to be more alert than you did, right?
Yeah, they did. The thing I had to be alert about was the cars. A lot of the roadways had cars. Most people pulled over just a little to the left to let me by, but some people made a game out of it and got a little close. So I never knew when I was going to get that attack by a car. But that was the hard part. The weather, you know, Daniel Boone came at this time here, and it can be anywhere from sunny and warm to freezing.
Right, I wonder why you chose this time of the year, because it is unpredictable weather.
Yeah, I started out on March 10th, and that's historically when Daniel Boone started out. And we were at Fort Twitty, the site of Fort Twitty, on the night of the 24th, and that is exactly the night that they were there. And of course, the morning of the 25th is when they were attacked. Now, they had to stay there a week longer to tend to their wounded, but Given and I were able to walk the next day and continue on, and it took us 2 more days to get here to Fort Boonesboro. But the weather is very unpredictable. It was cold some nights sleeping. I had frost on the tarp. But
so that was one of my other questions. What was the easiest night out that you spent, and the worst night out that you spent?
Oh, I think the easiest night for me was the night at Fort Twitty. It wasn't too cold. I slept the best. I guess I had my campsite just right because it was nice and soft. I've had a lot of hard nights where I just didn't sleep very well. It was too cold to put my head inside the sleeping bag. It was too hot. I couldn't breathe. To keep it outside, my nose was freezing. So I was up a lot those nights fighting the cold.
Was it Jonesville, or that you stayed at the blockhouse?
It was Duffield.
Duffield.
Yeah, Duffield at the Natural Bridge, Virginia State Park. At the blockhouse, that was a very cool experience. Very few people get to do that, and I'm glad they let me do that.
Right. You did have a lot of leniencies on your walk that other people don't have.
I did, yes. I had a lot of people help me out, and that's a lesson I learned. After the road was cut and pioneers started flooding in, there were roofs all along the way, forts and blockhouses and stations. People could stay and be secure and warm for a night. There were lots of meals that were cooked for the pioneers coming through, lots of places to resupply. I tried to do it all on my own.
And the secure, that's the key word there, that you could lay down and feel secure.
Yep. And, I tried to do it all on my own, and I learned very early on from some people that's not the way Grandpa Joshua did it, so I started doing it like Grandpa Joshua, and I let people help me.
So, as far as food goes, what did you miss the most about the daily diet that you're used to?
I missed a whole lot of things. I missed donuts. I missed ice cream, all the junk food. But I missed the good food too, like a good steak and stuff like that. Eating freeze-dried or dried food all the time, it's not a good way to live. So I actually had some people give me some fresh fruit along the way. That was a very good addition.
Did you lose any weight?
I did. I don't know how much yet, but I'm down a couple notches on the belt, and I can see it in my face in the mirror.
Your sense of accomplishment now that you got I know that you had in your mind what it would feel like to do it. Now that it's done, is your sense of accomplishment as great as what you expected it to be?
Yes, it is, because the physical toll it took was more than I expected. I didn't know my legs would hurt as much as they did the first week. I didn't know that I'd be able to carry that pack as much as I did. Even at 40 pounds, now I put it on and it doesn't feel like that much because I was used to holding that 40 pounds. So it was a great sense of accomplishment and how I've changed the way I feel when I walk.
And we have modern day medicines such as aspirins, ibuprofen. Did you take anything like that on the trail with you?
In the first couple days I did, but after that I was fine and I didn't need to.
That's great.
Yep.
Anything else you want to tell us?
Oh, everybody needs to come out, and even though if you're not a hardcore backpacker, you can walk a few miles along this trace in the places that are available. Go to Outrageous, it's the word outrage, and then GIS.com. They have a map of the entire route. They have both the footpath, which you can't always get on because of private land, but they have the driving route too. So it would be great if people came out and started traveling this road.
Well, do me a favor. If you do anything like this in our neck of the woods again, let us know so we can follow you too.
I sure will. I will.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
Rosalie Gilchrist with ARC TV. We started out at Meadowview on, was it 20 days ago? 17 days ago with Curtis and finishing up here at Fort Boonesboro in Kentucky. Thanks for watching ARC TV and thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.